If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. But go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery and isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds, and it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it, do it, do it, all the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2025, I'd do these 7 things. This is my step-by-step guide. Or you could literally just do the opposite of all these, and it's basically a guaranteed way to stay poor. Number 1. Reps before results. I loved this quote. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. This was Bruce Lee, kind of the GOAT. Winning looks like luck from the outside, but when you zoom in, it's a numbers game. First you do reps, then you suck, then you improve, then you win, then you repeat, or you find a harder game. Most people never get past the reps stage. They hit a little bit of resistance and then they absolutely fold. That is why you do not have the life that you want right now. When I first started getting on the internet, people thought it was bizarre that I had so many businesses by then. Well, I had been buying businesses and investing for 15 years. So of course I had a little head start. The first time that I raised my very first fund, I had to sell something like 150 investors in one-on-one meetings before I got my first big check. That led to a business that eventually did $1 billion in assets under management at First Trust. But that first year was miserable. And so you have to realize that more reps equals more learning. More learning equals better decisions equal better wins. I sort of think about it like a game of dominoes where you can basically see how to make one fall in front of the other by having one that is stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger because momentum compounds. So every industry has outliers, but if you dig deeper, they almost always fall into 2 categories. They are in fact statistical anomalies. You aren't one of them. They weren't actually lucky. Their first try was their 50th rep in disguise. Nobody actually hits it big on their first try. Like a lot of people I know go back to Mark Zuckerberg and think, well, he actually tinkered on countless projects before he built Facebook. Or you see a writer that goes viral all the time. Well, they probably wrote for 10 years in obscurity. You know, Ray Kroc said it best. Luck is a dividend on sweat. The more you sweat, the luckier you get. I found this to be true again and again in life. There's really no such thing as an overnight success. And if you realize this, then the question is really, how do you stack your game so that you have a higher likelihood of winning? I think a lot of people don't know how to apply a rule like this. So the way that I do is I set rep goals, not outcome goals. So what does that mean? That means you stop judging your early results because the first 20 reps are going to be atrocious, embarrassing to watch, and you think like an athlete. So athletes think about, if I want to hit this outcome, they actually don't set the outcome as the goal. They set their actions. So let's say you want to lose 20 pounds or you want to grow your business to $2 million in revenue. Well, if you want to lose 20 pounds, what do? You say, I need to go to the gym 5 days a week. I need to walk 10,000 hours every day. I shouldn't eat processed foods, and I'm not going to drink. I'm going to do that for 30 days, then 60 days, then 90 days. I'm going to see where I'm at. In business, it's the same thing. I want to hit $1 million in revenue. Right now, I'm only at $100,000. What are the 5 tasks that I can do that I think will increase my likelihood of success? That's it. And if you can do that continuously over time, you are much more likely to become a millionaire. Number 2, the flake tax. Most people think success comes from big moves, like a genius idea, perfect opportunity, lucky break. But actually, it comes from this one simple formula. Say you'll do something, actually do it, repeat. That's it. It sounds obvious, but here's the problem. Most people don't do it. You overcommit, you underdeliver, you spend your career making excuses. And over time, that comes as a cost. Your most important promise is a promise you make to yourself. Now, the reason why this works like compound interest is every time you follow through, you actually earn credibility points with yourself. Every time you flake, you lose them. Then you think, it doesn't really matter if I keep promises to myself. And at first, you don't notice. No one notices, but over time, this creates an exponential gap. A good example would be, I had an employee, super smart. I've often found the smarter you are, the more often you can make excuses for yourself. And he's what I call a flake. Makes promises, misses deadlines, explains why a lot, super verbose, and stagnates. Whereas the type of person you want to be is an executor. So two types of people. I had one of these. They're called a flake. You make promises, you miss deadlines, you explain why verbosely. That means you stagnate. As opposed to an executor, which means you make promises and you keep them. You earn trust, you get more opportunities. The results, flakes have what's called linear progress. They kind of go side to side like this. They're always having to start over. They never really break out to the next level. Executors have compounding trust, which means the things they do get easier with time, and they keep getting more opportunities because these things get easier with time. The guy who delivers consistently will have more money in his bank account by the end. That's just the end of it. Doing the thing is the fastest way to stand out because most people don't. So keep your promise to yourself and watch how you start to keep promises to other people. In 90% of businesses, they are built either to just survive or to thrive. We ran 5,000 business owners through our model to figure out, could we predict those that will thrive or survive? The answer is this quiz. We call it the Empire Builder Index. It's completely free for you. It's about 15 questions, and it will tell you if your business is set up for you to not only win, but maybe one day sell it. We score and rank you from A to F, and then tell you the things that you need to change inside of your business in order for that business to be more fun to run and potentially more fun for somebody else to take over, and thus you to become more profitable. If you want this free quiz, you can click the link in the show description and ask about the Empire Builders Index. You'll get it delivered right to you. It's free. It takes about 90 seconds, maybe a couple minutes at most to fill out. And hopefully at the end, you will get an incredible score. But if you don't get an incredible score, you're also welcome to reach out to my team. We have workshops, we have communities, we have just about everything builders need to grow. We're happy to help you if we can. Number 3, a very controversial one by one of my favorite authors of all time. His name was Bukowski, Charles Bukowski. It actually, he says it multiple ways, but one of my favorite poems of his is about being a writer. And it's so good, I want to read it to you. He says, if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind, but go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery and isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds, and it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it, do it, do it, all the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. What does this mean? It means when you say you are going to do a thing, that's one thing. But if you are going to say it, do it. Do not just try. Bukowski is obsessed with this idea of removing the word try from your vocabulary. And he would say, not to try either for Cadillac's creation or immortality. You wait, and if nothing happens, you wait some more. It's like a bug high on the wall. You wait for it to come to you. When it gets close enough, you reach out, slap it, and kill it. Or if you like its looks, you make a pet out of it. And I think those encompass the idea that you should paste on your forehead, which is writing about writer's block is better than not writing at all. That you find what you love and let it kill you. That's his line. And we are here to laugh at the odds and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us. Remove try from your vocabulary. By the way, if you're building a business right now and you're stuck or you want to break out to the next level, maybe you're not where you want to be today. Believe me, I've been there many, many times. I want you to know I got you. We help thousands of business owners a year figure out how to scale to the next level. One of my favorite mentors said, every level you have, there's just a higher level and a higher devil. And so if you've been in business for a while and you're doing 6, 7, or 8 figures, there's probably one thing standing in the way of your next level. That's why we host growth and scale workshops 4 times a year throughout the year in Austin, in Miami, in San Diego, and you may be a fit to come to one of them. If it sounds interesting to you to get help on how to scale your business to the next level, you can reach out to my team at the link in the show notes. We believe in you builders, but we also believe that it's a lonely road and you can't do it by yourself. Number 4, be a fixer, not a freeloader. So There's a dividing line between two types of people in today's world. At my company, we call these fixers and freeloaders, and they're different than flakes and executors. The leaky ship analogy basically is this. You're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly a hole appears, water pours in. What happens next? Well, you have a bunch of people who say, I'm so proud of our boat. The hole just gives it character. Guys, let's not be negative. Don't worry about the hole. Are you going to fix it? Technically, it's not a hole. It's a special port. If there's a hole there, it's there for a reason. What? Like you're an expert at shipbuilding? Everyone, let's just mind our own business. Or I like it with a hole even better. And this always makes me chuckle because while it's ridiculous that we would think of drowning in a boat while you have one guy trying to patch it and everyone else saying things that don't matter, it's very true. And it's an example of what's happening in society and kind of scary how accurate it is in multiple different ways. The freeloaders, they just kind of react. They tell you all their feelings about it. While the freeloaders are not searching for how to fix it, they're searching for ways to feel better about it. They discuss, they theorize, they wait. You guys have met somebody like this, haven't you? You're like, you've brought me that same problem, Diane, about you and your husband for 15 years. Have you tried therapy? Have you talked to them in person? Have you sat down? Have you looked yourself in the mirror and tried to be better? Is there anything we want to do here? Or do we just want to still talk about the issue for 72 years later? Whereas fixers are a totally different breed. They see a problem and they just end up fixing it. And you know what a wild part is? Some weird thing is happening in our culture today where we think that if we fix things and somebody doesn't pay us for it, that's like, ugh, really? Like, I'm working at this company and I shouldn't have to do this thing that's not my job. That's a terrible way to stay poor forever. You also don't want that in your culture of your company. I was at my friend Andy Frisella's company, and he has a saying, which is, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I remember the moment that I realized how deep his culture was, is that I was in the bathroom at his beautiful 100,000 square foot headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri. I was fixing my makeup or something in the bathroom, and this woman comes out of the stall and she grabs the, soap and water and starts washing her hands. And then when she's done, she grabs a paper towel and she wipes the countertop and the sink and then throws it away. I thought that was nice, like a little touch above and beyond. I don't do that every time I wash my hands. And then another woman came in. She does the same thing. She washes her hands, she grabs the paper towel, she cleans the countertop, she cleans the sink. And I pause for a second. And I do the inappropriate thing that I do because I just can't be quiet ever. And I'm like, what the are you doing? Why are you washing that countertop and the thing? Like, is that something that you do here? And she just looks at me with this look of disdain and says, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And so I march out of the bathroom immediately and go to my friend DJ who works at the company. And I'm like, who was that? Was that like your new CEO, your head of marketing, your COO? And he was like, oh no, that's Sally. She's on the sales team. She's kind of junior, she's new, but I think she's going to work out here. And I realized how deep their culture was because even his employees were repeating it back. That is the perfect example of a fixer. And humans like that, they get to architect the entire world as opposed to be a meme where you're wishing and hoping that somebody else will fix things. The truth of the matter is the world is always going to be full of leaks, and that's actually kind of our opportunity. Okay, number 5 is climbing the NPC ladder to main character energy. So I like to ask people, where are you on the NPC ladder? See, first there are NPCs, right? These are in video games, non-player characters. They exist to create the illusion of a world alive. Like, they populate the towns, they kind of repeat that scripted dialogue and react in super predictable ways. They don't actually play the game. They're like a glorified chair, right? The shopkeeper who says, welcome traveler, welcome traveler, welcome traveler. The blacksmith who does the same thing. The idea is they don't connect the dots. They're not important. And generally speaking, they're just wandering around. Then there are the PCs, the player characters. They're the ones that make things happen, the ones with all of the control, the ones who are actually debating whether not somebody should fight dragon, but like, let's go fix the village and kill the dragon. PCs understand something that most people don't, which is no one's coming to save you or pick you up. And the world defaults to people who step up. And so I think about the NPC ladder as this. Low end, not my problem. Nobody told me to do anything. Someone should fix this. If nobody steps up, I guess I will. I'll handle it. So the idea in business is you probably right now in your business have people who say these things to you. This tells you how you should pay them. At the low end of the scale, you have minimum wage labor, which is what I consider bottom rung. And at the high end of the ladder, you have top rung, or what I would consider C-suite, or people who are on a path for growth. Bottom rung employees, minimum wage employees, say things like, I just work here. I don't know, not my job. Second rung, they say, ooh, nobody told me to do that. So it's not like I won't do it, but nobody told me. You have to tell me to do something. They're like a human motion detector. Only take action when directed and somebody is moving in front of them. Third rung is somebody that says, someone should really fix this. It's like an armchair CEO, right? They're diagnosing project problems. They're telling you what's wrong, but they don't actually fix it. Then the next rung is, well, if nobody else steps up, I guess I will. I think about this as the lazy fixer. This is like, well, I guess I'm doing this again. Well, I'm always working late instead of the other guy. And then you got the top tier, the PCs, who say, I'll handle it. They see the problem, they take action. The idea is in your business, I want you to catalog every single person along those lines. And then I want you to communicate this with your team. I get on our Monday morning meeting and I say, hey, by the way, guys, if you say these sorts of lines, you get paid this sort of level. If you say these sorts of lines, you'll get paid that sort of level. You decide, do you want to be a main character? Or do you want to be part of the show? Neither are wrong, but you got to decide, and they pay different. I built something for you builders. If you are building a business right now, I think this is the playbook for scaling businesses. We call it our contrarian operating system. It's how I manage all of our businesses to both grow really simply, but consistently. And it's free for you. If you want it, just click the link in the show description and try out the operating system. I really think, you guys, if you want to have a business, not a job, you have to have a system and a process and not a hope and a prayer. If this is useful for you all as well, you can talk to my team. We have tons of resources for builders. I am here to make sure you succeed. Number 6, action before opportunity. Most people are allergic to this concept. They wait for the perfect role, the dream project, the right time, and they convince themselves that when the time comes, they're going to take action. But your bank account is a direct reflection of how fast you move and how many risks you take. So I want you to think action first, then opportunity follows. In your business, this is how I think about it. You take action even when you don't know what to do, which increases your trust and belief in your ability to move, which actually creates more opportunity for you, which gives you more actions to take. This is the virtuous cycle that I want you to follow. And how do you do this in practice? I'd ask yourself today, what is my typical timeline for one activity that's really important for my business or life? That might be something like, hey, I'll get to that by the end of the day today. Every time you want to give a deadline that's like end of day today, tomorrow, next week, try doing it in 1 hour. Try doing it in 20 minutes. Try materially changing the trajectory of your life by compressing timelines, because people who compress timelines, they win. And the last one is number 7. Your economic superpower is I do. That leads to graphs like this, which show you that over time, if you are never married, and if you were married and never divorced, there is a delta of somewhere between $300,000 to $1 million in net worth, which is kind of crazy. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and marry just about anybody you find, but what I will tell you is put your priority of partnership very high. 1, because it's cool. I'm married, I could tell you. It's actually pretty cool. It's hard at times, but nowhere near as hard, I think, as being single. Being single is really hard, actually. But you know what's cool? When you find your person, you are going to have to compromise. You're going to have to take action. You're going to have to trust. You're going to have to be a better person. They're going to be a mirror and reflection of all the things you hate about yourself constantly. But it turns out one of the fastest ways to wealth is finding another human who can tolerate you for the long term. And so in a world in which people tell you that marriage doesn't matter, I'm going to say the opposite. In fact, when I do business deals, I like to see people that can have a long-term partner, because at least that guy can tolerate them. All right, 7 things I would do if I wanted to be a millionaire in 2025. One kind of crazy one here at the end, all the way to a bunch you would be crazy not to listen to. Hey crew, this is so cool. The podcast is growing like crazy, and it's only actually because of one thing, you. I don't know if you know this, but the only way the Big Deal Pod grows is when you share it with somebody else. We don't do ads, we don't do pay for play, we don't go on other people's podcasts and talk about it. So if you think there was something helpful here, if we made you money, we made you think about your business or life differently, the most most beautiful thing you can do for me is share it. And the most beautiful thing you can do for someone that you care about is to share it with them, help them grow alongside you. So please share the pod. That's how we grow. And also tag me on anything you share. I love resharing other builders across Instagram, Twitter, and all other platforms. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're super important to me.
You can basically make your brain release dopamine whenever you want to. Dopamine is 100% subjective. If you look at most of the chemicals that are extremely addictive, they are usually high dopamine chemicals, like those drugs. If we want to find things that are going to give us dopamine. Like I've always thought to myself, like, how can I make myself addicted to taking the action I need to create the life that I want? If your why is strong enough, your how will reveal itself.
You have worked with hundreds, if not thousands of people on mindset, lots of high performers. In your studies, what have you noticed, like data-wise? Are there studies that have changed the way that you thought about how humans think or how top performers think?
How so? Give me a little more context so I can go into it. Like, what are you thinking?
Like, is there surprising data or data pieces that you've found about mindset and the human brain, or studies that you found interesting lately that you think are worth sharing?
I think the biggest thing is, like, I like to go into, like, the main thing that I work off is like cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And the thing that I think I've been teaching the most recently that's been like hitting the home the most for people is just basically this idea of like negativity bias, which is like we are wired to be negative. Like that is the way that it works. And so like I don't know any specific data around, you know, like successful people, unsuccessful people. But what I do know is that people inherently are negative. And there's a reason why that exists. The reason why it exists is because, you know, 10,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, when we were going to be attacked by something, we had to be on guard and look for problems. That's all that we did. So your brain is just this problem-solving mechanism. The problem with it now is that modern day, obviously, we're not going to be like attacked by a tiger or anything like that. So our brain is constantly looking for what is wrong, and in turn, it's making problems when problems don't exist. And so the thing that I like to do is, if you have a hammer, you want to find a nail. And so if your brain is a problem-solving tool, then my goal for myself and clients that I work with, especially business owners, is bring problems to figure out every single day. Because your brain wants to do that thing. You know, it's like that's what your brain is designed to do. So people are always like, oh, how do I stop overthinking? I'm like, well, you don't stop overthinking because your brain doesn't stop thinking. Your heart, you don't want your heart to stop because it's made to beat. You don't want your lungs to stop because it's made to breathe. Your brain is made to think. And most of the time, your brain will go towards negative because it's trying to solve a problem. So if you're a business owner, one of the best things you can do is wake up in the morning and say, what are the problems that I want to solve today? And see if there's one problem that you can solve today, and then just give your brain space. Most people, and I found this consistent with myself and so many other people, work too much in their business and not on their business. Like they're so in the day-to-day. Like I've almost completely removed myself from my day-to-day, thank God, because I have a VP of operations who's helped me with that. She's process-driven, so we've removed myself, right? And so my job is to wake up in the morning, and she knows we're going to talk about problems in the morning. So we're going to see what are the problems of the day, what are the things that I need to solve for. So if I can solve for X and I'm a visionary and I know I'm a visionary, then I'm going to go, okay, what is this thing? And then I have to give myself space to just solve it. And so the thing that I find with people that I think is the biggest for business owners is like, if your brain's going to go towards the negative, towards trying to solve problems, give it problems to find. Otherwise, what it's going to do is it's going to show up and say, oh, we've got a problem. Like, you know, we didn't get as much revenue as we needed. My business is going to go out of business. What's going to happen? I'm going to end up being homeless. I'm going to have to fire my employees. Oh my God, they've got children and it creates its own version of problems versus going, I'm just going to give my brain the problems that it needs in order to get me where I want to go versus send me off down this like path of doom and gloom, which is what most business people do.
It's interesting because what they say is like, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of that. Mm-hmm. It's like your world will get small. I have a family member that I just watch their world get smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah. And thus somehow their problems get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And so these little things that happen every single day, you know, they'll call me and say like, oh God, I can't believe the mailman's late today. And you're like, how in getting fewer problems did your problems get bigger? It's a weird phenomenon.
Right.
But that makes all the sense in the world. It's because you're not feeding the beast. And so the beast will find something to eat.
Of course.
And it will make it a problem that is probably not even there.
Yeah.
And so you get to have like negative projection or negative manifestation, essentially.
Exactly. And one of the things that's big too is don't give it too many problems a day.
How many you think?
So I read an article like 5 years ago that like changed my perception on my business. And it was about Jeff Bezos, and he only makes 3 decisions a day. And so he will sit down and he'll find problems and he'll make 3 decisions every single day, but they're like billion-dollar decisions. Versus me at that point in time, I was like, I got to do 45 things today. If every single person, and this is like a simple thing to do with your to-do list, right? Especially for business owners. Wake up, you make your to-do list, you figure out exactly what needs to be done for the day, right? Then what you do is you just circle number 1, number 2, and number 3. You take an index card, you write number 1 down, you write number 2 down, you write number 3 down, you throw your to-do list away, burn it, whatever it is you need to do, put that in your back pocket, and then only pay attention to those 3 things. And then just focus on number 1, focus on number 2 after that's done, and focus on number 3. If every single business owner got number 1 done every single day, Monday through Friday, they'd be incredibly successful at the end of this year. But the problem is they work from home, and then they're like, well, I've got to do the laundry. So they do the laundry because they just want to check shit off of their to-do list versus like, I don't want to be busy. Because if you're just checking things off, that's when you get done at the end of the day and you're like, you worked your ass off, you feel like you got nothing done, right? Versus like, I want to be productive. I don't want to be busy. How do you be productive? You cross off number 1, the most important thing of your day, then your second thing, and then your third thing, if you get to those. If you never get to 2, don't get to 3, no big deal. As long as you get number 1 done, I think that's what people should focus on.
Brilliant. We often, I think, also want to cross things off the to-do list that are small because it feels good. Like that endorphin response, that little bit of adrenaline that you get every time you check something off. And yet, if you're focusing on the wrong things, who cares? Which is what most people do.
So many people will do something and then add it to the to-do list and cross it off because it feels good to cross it off.
Oh, really?
Oh, all the time I hear people do this. Yes, no joke. People will be like, well, I just did this. It wasn't on my to-do list. I'm going to write it down, then cross it off to make it feel like I did something.
Wow, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
We are weird little hairless apes running around trying to figure life out. I've heard you and also Jordan Peterson say, if you want to have an incredible life, you have to go through a ton of pain. Do you think you have to go through massive pain to learn anything?
I think that you can't really go through life without some sort of pain. But there's also a difference between pain and suffering. So pain is something that happens to you. Suffering is something that happened to you that you continue to bring with you every single day and kind of have it take the energy from you. So my biggest pain was my father passed away when I was 15 from being an alcoholic, and growing up with an alcoholic father and all that comes with it. Would I be where I am now if I didn't have that happen to me? I don't think so, because the reason why I do what I do now is because I went through all the things I went through. And so I found myself in a lot of suffering because of my mindset. And I know that my dad was in a lot of suffering because of his mindset, because his father killed himself when he was 12 years old and he never overcame it. And so I saw like what happened when you don't overcome your pain. And then I also saw like other people in my life that were better examples of like they overcame their pain. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to be the type of person who overcomes it. So then I started working on myself, and as I started working on myself, I got addicted to like, I want to teach this to people. I think that everybody has to go through something hard in order to become better. And so it can be that something that the universe throws all of our crap at us, or it can be that we actually seek out and try to find some suffering. So it's like, there's a principle called applied suffering, where it's like you actually go and try to figure out ways to suffer. And so it could be like, going to the gym and like forcing yourself to work out is a form of applied suffering. Doing an ice bath is like a form of applied suffering. And so I think that the main thing that pain really shows us is that pain is a stimulus for change. It's like, it is if I put my hand on a hot stove, it is my body and my brain saying something needs to change, and it needs to change immediately. For some people, a heart attack is that change, something needs to change, and something needs to change immediately. A lot of very successful people that I know have been through a lot of shit. And I think there's a lot of reasons why they become successful. A lot of times people are running from something, and so they bury it in being a workaholic. That's what I did. I was working like 110 hours a week to run from my trauma with my dad, which is hard because in society, that's like the only addiction that's actually praised. Oh my God, you're making a bunch of money, you're successful, and everyone's like praising you for it. So I don't think that you have to go through it, but I do find that people who have been through a lot, usually if they end up using it for good, can actually become extremely successful from it.
There is something to this fact that you can either use your pain towards something forward progressing, or you can let it eat you alive.
Yeah.
Do you think that all entrepreneurs are emotionally fucked up in some ways?
No, there might be like one or two that's not, but
I've met one.
But like, I think there's a couple of things. It's like, what I always go back to every single time is like, what's someone's relationship with their parents? And, you know, like I used to always think in my head that in order for someone to have something as they get older that's an issue, the parent had to have screwed them up and been like an alcoholic like my father was, or talked down to them, or said, oh, I'll only love you when you achieve, which is some people where it's like, oh, my dad didn't give me attention unless I won a basketball game, and then I got his love. And so people start learning, oh, I have to achieve in order to be worthy of love. And then my best friend had the exact opposite happen, where he's super driven, super successful, but his parents are still together. They're the most in love people I've ever seen. And I'm like, where did you get fucked up? Like, where did it come from? Like, there's got to be something, right? And what he said was his parents used to always say, everybody loves him. Everybody loves him. So when he was a little kid, he would always hear, oh, everybody loves him. Everybody loves him, because he was a good little kid and he was fun and all that stuff. And he developed this narrative like, everybody has to love me. And then so what he felt to himself is, I have to perform and I have to achieve in order for people to love me. So his parents are like very positively affirming to him, which you think would be a good thing. He turns it into, well, I can't show up to this place unless everybody loves me. So then he stopped going places and he started becoming more of a hermit because of that. And then he felt to himself like, well, everybody loves me, and if everybody has to love me, well, then I need to achieve. So then he developed this feeling within him of like, oh, well then in order for me to be worthy of other people's love, I need to succeed. And then he attached that to money. And so then when he didn't have money, he didn't feel like he was worthy of love. And so there's a whole, I mean, people are very, very complex. Like life is not hard. Business is not hard. All of these things are very simple, but humans, in the way that our world works together, our narrative of ourselves and how it intertwines with everything, we're just extremely complex. So like he's a great example of great childhood, great parents, very positively affirming, but even the positive affirmation ended up, you know, messing him up in some sort of way.
You have a lot that you've talked about when it comes to, I don't think you use the word toxic people, but people that shouldn't be in your sphere. And I've heard you, and I think also Robert Greene, talk about developing a radar to detect these type of people. How do you determine who should be in your sphere, who should not, and who might be sabotaging your success or not?
So I had a friend that categorized them, and he said people basically are either they're batteries or they're vacuums. So they're either batteries where they give you energy, or they're vacuums where they take energy away from you. If you're questioning whether somebody is a battery, like a battery or a vacuum, they're probably a vacuum. Like if you're questioning it, you're probably, they're teetering on like taking energy from you. And so like a battery is somebody that you're around. Like there's people that I'm around, I'm sure you do it all the time with what you do, where you'll have a conversation and then an hour after they leave, you like still have energy from them being there. Even though all of that spending time with them, you should have less energy because you had speaking and you were walking around and you were doing something together. But they literally, there's like a remnant of them still being there. There's still a lot of energy from that. There's some people that are in people's lives that you talk to for like 3 minutes and you're drained for the rest of the day. And so if you just think about the person and just thinking about them makes you feel drained, they're probably somebody who's a vacuum and they're time suckers, they're time vampires, they're just taking it from you. And so it's hard because a lot of times these people who are vacuums are people's parents, they're their sisters, they're their brothers, they're people they're related to. And you're not just gonna completely get rid of them, but it's like, how do you start to spend less time with them and then replace them with other people who are better for you? I didn't even realize this until I wrote the book, when I was like, all right, changing your environment, who you surround yourself with, it's success. When I first moved to Austin in 2012, the guy that I moved in with already had a massive friends group. And I got here and within like a week, I had all of my best friends and I was raging Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like partying, right? It was awesome. For a couple years, it was great. And then I decided to start my own business. I decided to start the podcast and I was like, I'm going to figure out how to make money online. And I was like, I wonder if there's any like events. And so I Googled it and I found Internet Marketing Party. So I went to Internet Marketing Party and I remember I was sitting there and the first guy I was talking to was a year younger than me and was doing $2 million a year. And I was like, you can make that much money online? Like this is like, I had no idea that this was possible. And then I started meeting other people and then I was like, you know what? I'm meeting these people, they're doing a couple 100,000, they're doing a couple million. And so then I started hanging out with them and then we would work together because being an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur, is like very you're just alone all the time. And so we would go to each other's houses downtown and we would work together. And then they would have a lunch and I would see what their lunch was. And I was like, oh my God, you made $100,000 today. I didn't realize you could make $100,000 in a day. And then what started happening was then one of them I became really close with didn't drink. So I started hanging out with him more because he was in my industry and he was at like 5 million a year and I was at like 200,000 that time. And I was like, I'm gonna hang out with him more. And I stopped drinking and I stopped partying and I started waking up earlier. And just by being around this group of people, everything about me changed. And it wasn't like I consciously sat down and was like, I need to change this. It was just that the people that I surrounded myself with were different. And I just took on the actual, the way that they were. There's a statistic that found that if you have one friend that you're close to become obese, you have a 38% higher chance of becoming obese because we become the people we spend the most time with. And so if you're trying to change, maybe you should look at the people around you and say like, would I want to trade places with them? And if the answer is no, well then maybe you should spend less time with them and start getting around people who you do want to trade places with.
Those statistics on the rub-off effect of both, let's call fat and fitness and also money are sort of scary when you think about it. Because it's the same thing. Like there's another statistic that shows that like if you get a group of 5 people that you spend the most time with and you analyze the bank accounts of those 5 people, on average your bank account will be the same.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is those 5 people don't have to be from your geographic area. They don't have to be where you came up from. They don't even have to work at your company with you. It's just, it appears to be there's some contagion to both success or failure, winning or losing. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what is a negative person? Who is the negative person? Like, and what's the degree that's allowable before you're 50% less happy and 38% fatter and all of this? Do you have a way that you think about, okay, if this happens in this many situations or instances, this is a negative person, or is it the same as the vacuum?
I mean, I think the easiest way, I saw a video on it years ago, is like if you have to question whether that person's truly happy for you when you succeed at something, they're probably not the best person to spend time with. Like if you're hesitant to go tell them about something that you just succeeded with, or you're hesitant to tell them about your dreams because they want to shit on them, they're probably not the most positive person to be around. I loved watching the Olympics because as soon as somebody succeeds, they look into the crowd to find the person that they love the most, right? Like success is not fun when you're by yourself. Like we want people to succeed with and to celebrate with us. And so many people that I have found are not surrounded by anybody. If you're really questioning whether somebody would be happy for you if you brought some sort of win to them, or they would question, your dreams, then they're probably someone who's not really looking out for your best interest.
I used to believe sort of a little bit like, hey, if somebody's saying that everybody around them sucks, what's likely? You might suck.
Yeah.
That might be a you thing.
Yeah. It's like the phrase where if you wake up and you meet an asshole, you just met an asshole. But if you meet assholes all day long, you're the asshole. So
it's true.
Maybe you're the negative person.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
But I think that in this case, it can be hard if you're really a builder and you're not around builders. Not everybody gets that game.
Yeah.
You also talked a lot about habits of successsul people and that some of them are replicable. What do you think that successful people do every day that other people don't?
Boring shit. I love all of the habits that people are putting online and the whole mindset shifts and habits of successful people and all of that. I do love it. I even said, I think cold plunging is great and meditating is great and all of those things. Those are all good and they help. But I think the most important thing that I have found from the most successful people is they are the type of person that follows through. They are true to their word and they will follow through and do what they say they're going to do. I think that is probably the biggest key to the most successful people I've found, is that they follow through and they're extremely consistent of doing it day in, day out. It's so funny to me, I've now been an entrepreneur for 19 years. I'm 38, so it's been half of my life. And people started let's be entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is waking up and deciding to be punched in the face every day. That's literally what it is. It's just a challenge and a new challenge and a new challenge. It's fun for some of us. I think it's the most fun thing ever. I get to wake up and play a game every single day. But I think that a lot of people, they cannot stay consistent with that. And so I think that the two biggest things that I find is they follow through and they're just consistent. And that's what it comes down to. And I remember when I was like researching a lot of stuff for my book on like willpower and how do you get yourself to follow through and take action. And I started researching like some of the most successful people and like how they became so consistent. And what I found was that they are not the type of person who just has hardcore willpower. It's that they design an environment where their willpower isn't tested. And so like, for instance, like for me, I don't have any social media on my phone anymore because I noticed that I would pick it up and I'd immediately just somehow be on Instagram. Like it was a reactionary thing. And so for the past 6 months, like I haven't had Instagram on my phone. And so I've never had TikTok on my phone, which is, I've got like 600,000 followers on TikTok. I've never had it, right? So it's like, the way I do it is I design my environment where I cannot be tested by this thing. So my team will come to my house, we record the stuff, my editor will take it, give it to my social media team. Every Monday we meet and we just see how everything's looking. Like just look at the numbers as if it's anything else in a business, right? Just part of marketing. So that doesn't test my willpower. And so then if I don't have that, well, then there's less things to distract me. And if there's less things to distract me, well, then for me, it's like, okay, well, then what do I want to spend my time doing? Oh, this thing that I need to get done today. And so I think if you can, even if it's somebody who like, you know, wants to lose weight, if you design an environment where your willpower doesn't get tested, it makes it so much easier. If you get rid of all of the shitty food, and you get rid of all of the sugars, and you get rid of all of the stuff, and you just have stuff that is in your house, and you just have, you know, fruit that's out on the table instead, your willpower won't be tested. So I think if somebody can design an environment where their willpower won't be tested, it makes it easier to be consistent. And then at the same time, just develop this like deep sense of when I say I'm going to do something, I absolutely 100% I'm going to do it. And the last thing I'll say around that, I figured this out when I was young. When I had my first office open, it drove me crazy that I would have all of these kids with so much potential come through. Because, you know, by the time I was 24, I trained 2,000 sales reps. And I hated when they would say, oh, I'm going to come into the office, I'm going to make 100 phone calls. And then 2 hours later, they'd be at like 7. And so I printed out this huge flyer, like this huge thing. It just, when you walked out of my door, it said follow through. Because just so many people don't do what they say they're going to do. So if people can have the integrity to just be consistent and then just to do what they say they're going to do, I think that's probably the 2 biggest keys I can think of for success.
Do you remember when you first noticed that rich people did this thing, follow through? Like, do you remember watching somebody and saying, oh, look, they do it this way, I should mimic that?
Yeah, so my father, I told you the story, you know, he was an alcoholic, passed away when I was 15, and I was very lucky, like very, very lucky. The same way where I said, like, if I didn't have my Uncle Dan in my life, I probably wouldn't know what success looked like. And so I had a little bit of that language that I already knew because I saw Dan. And so Dan, he's retired now, but he was like my first mentor by proxy, kind of. So he's my uncle, he's my mom's sister's husband. And when I was a kid, he had a glass company, he had like 200 employees, he did like 20 million a year. And he was the type of person who just followed through. Like he was so often, like in society, people who don't have money and don't have success like to demonize people who have success as if you have to like screw people over to make money. There's this whole thing of like, you have to screw people over, or in order for you to win, somebody else has to have lost. And my uncle was always this person where if anybody ever needed anything, he was always there for them. And if anybody needed money, he would always give it to them. He never asked for it back. He would always be the person that was there. And so I always saw this guy. The good thing was that his grandson, which is my second cousin, was 6 days younger than me. So I was always around them because he would have me come on vacation stuff. And I would see him wake up before anybody else would and get his coffee and go to work and show up and be consistent. So like from a very young age, I was like, I just have to show up and work hard. I just have to show up and work hard. And he was very consistent in the way that he did it. And once I saw, okay, if I go this route, I can be like my dad. Or if I go this route, I can be like Uncle Dan. As soon as I got the first opportunity to put any work into anything and I got into a sales position, I was like, what did Dan do? He worked his ass off. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna work my ass off. And so I think that's the first person I really realized taught me just by being around him. He never ever told me work hard or go for money or try to be successful, any of that stuff. I just saw by the type of person that he was that that's what I wanted to be.
Yeah, it's almost like you had a rich dad, poor dad.
That's 100% what I had. I've never even thought about it. That's exactly what I had. I had the rich dad, poor dad situation.
Yeah, and you were able to actually see between the two. Because a lot of times, I had a famous mentor of mine that used to say, nothing is good or bad. It's only good or bad by comparison. And so if all you've ever known was your dad who lived a certain type of life, but that was your father, you might not have known that it was actually bad.
Yeah.
And so being able to juxtapose two humans is actually kind of a beautiful blessing.
100%.
Yeah. And I think also sometimes it's hard for all of us to learn what not to do just by seeing it. We have to also see what should we do?
Sure.
And what are the repercussions of outcomes? I love that. One other thing you've talked about that I really liked is talking about the importance of a partner and who you pick in a relationship, and how psychological stability in a partner is incredibly important. So, these days we're marrying later than ever. We're having less sex. We're having less relationships. We're not jumping so easily into partnership. And I don't know if that's fear or searching or what the case is. But when it comes to picking a partner, what do you think is the most important?
I think the highest version of a relationship is somebody who doesn't try to change you, and somebody who is there for you to work through your own shit. So I'll explain this because I have a story behind it. So my wife, we've been together for, next month will be 11 years we've been together. And we were talking about somebody that we know, and she's married but doesn't really want to be married to this guy, and she hasn't wanted to be married for a while, but she feels bad. So there's this whole thing, we're talking about it. And she said, yeah, but she loves him. And I was like, okay, but is she in love with him? And she's like, well, I don't know. Like, what do you consider being in love? Well, actually, first what she did was she asked me the most woman question ever. She goes, well, are you in love with me? And I was like, she's like,
would you love me if I'm a worm?
Yeah, she's like, how do you know? And I was like, oh God, now I got to figure this out. So I was like, I think the highest version of a relationship is somebody who is there for you, that will support you through anything, but has not tried to stunt your growth. A lot of people are like, I married you because you were this person, be this person forever. Like a lot of people are like that. In self-development, which is what I'm in, a lot of people will get into personal development when they weren't before, and then their partner will just talk trash about trying to become better. Because their partner feels triggered like, oh, well, if she outgrows me, then she's gonna leave me. So unconsciously, they start talking trash about wanting to grow because I don't want her to leave me. And so I think that we all have our baggage, and we all have our traumas, and we all have things we need to work through. And I think that the highest version of a relationship is somebody that makes you feel like you're in such a safe space that I can come to you with all of my stuff. You won't judge me for any of it, but you'll help me work through it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing that I've learned the most from my relationship with my wife, is that I've never brought any of my baggage or trauma to talk about with her, and ever felt like she came back to me like, oh, well, you're not man enough, why you bring this to me? Or, you should figure this out on your own, or whatever it might be. It was just like a safe space to be. And me, where I just happen to be a very driven, competitive, hardworking person, she never tried to change that in me, which is what was great. And so I think that she just kind of like, it's about picking the partner that you will support you to be what you want to be. And so for me, it was like, she was that person. I was able to be who I needed to be in order to grow. And I never felt like, oh, well, if this business is successful, then she's going to leave me or anything like that. So I think that's, in my opinion, it's kind of like, what's the point of a gardener? The gardener is supposed to plant the seed and give it water and give it space and give it sun so that it grows, the flower grows into its most potential that it can. And that's kind of the same way being in a relationship is like, I'm in a relationship with her. It is my job to create a safe space where she can grow to her potential, but not me try to force what she should be doing in her life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Did you know that about her right away?
No. The thing that I knew about her is that she had a much deeper capacity to love than I did. Not because I wasn't born with that capacity, it's because I actually shut that part of me down based off of my childhood. And so I remember we went to we had a friend that was in town. I met him at a poker tournament. He's a relationship therapist. And he's like, you and your girlfriend should come by and just like check it out. I was like, okay, like not knowing anything. Like I was like, well, just come and talk to this guy. Cool, that'd be awesome. And he was the first time I ever had somebody, he goes, yeah, you were neglected as a child. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you were neglected. I was like, well, no, like I had food and water and like I never lived on the street. He's like, no, you were emotionally neglected. And he goes, Lauren, and he gave us all our assignments. He goes, Lauren, your job is you understand love deeper than he does, because it's like a room he's never walked into. So your job is to kind of lead him and show him what love can be, and realize that he might get triggered in some sort of way because he feels unsafe because he's never felt it before. It's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of him. And if you just stay in that state of love, he will eventually kind of melt into it, I guess you could say. And so I didn't know it at all.
So
but
do you feel, now do you
it.
feel like you are able to love more? Did that work?
Oh, 100%. Well, there's a lot of things that I've worked on in the past few years. Like I said, like psychedelics helped and meditation helped and, having a baby helped. And so there's a lot of things that have helped over time.
Young Rob probably wouldn't have talked about like trauma and neglect, and you're probably like, whatever. No. I'm working on shit. Fine.
I'm trying to build a business. That's what it came down to more than anything else, right?
Yeah. Which is super normal for people like you and I.
Sure.
We're like, trauma, whatever. Yeah. I'm working on this thing.
Over the past probably 3 years, I've realized this is I got into self-development because I wanted to be successful. I wanted to make money. That was like the thing. When I was 19 and I realized I'm in a sales position, I can make money. That was like my number one focus for a really, really long time. And so I got into self-development because I was like, let me add stuff to me. Let me get better. Let me get smarter. And so it was like this idea of like, I will succeed more the more that I add to myself. And what I realized is that the real true version of self-development is actually subtraction, not addition. So like there's certain aspects of myself I need to get rid of, or I need to let go of, or not let run the show all of the time. And so for me, it's actually been a whole lot of doing less and removing aspects of myself that I'm not necessarily the most in love with.
Okay, real quick, let me cut to the chase. Your content deserves better. Better quality, better tools, and a lot less wasted time, which is also better. That's where Riverside crushes it for us. Hopefully you see that by listening to this podcast. So whether you're interviewing, podcasting, social clips, this platform is my secret weapon for getting high quality video ready to post fast as possible. 4K video? Yep. AI powered editing? Double check. It's not just about recording, it's about getting to the finish line faster. So transcripts that clean up your mistakes, AI magic clips that pick themselves, and editing tools that make even amateurs look polished. Riverside has it all. You can even toss in footage you recorded outside of the app and still unlock those killer features to edit your footage. The truth is, time is money, and Riverside is the kind of investment that we think pays for itself. So try it for free. Links in the description. You know, when I get a deal, you get a deal. So use code CODY at checkout for a discount on any paid plan. All right, let's get back into it. When you've worked with people who are poor or people who are not performing in their lives, what do you typically see that they do?
Usually nothing. I mean, they're not sharing a whole lot. I mean, it comes down to like, the way I think about it is this, is like, it's not, when I said like life is not that hard, success is not that hard, it's quite simple. We make it difficult, is like, if I said, this door's closed and on the other side of this there's $1 million, you just got to open the door. What do you have to do? Just get your ass up and go open the door, right? Like that's all you have to do. But if you sit there and you're like, well, I don't know, but what if I break my ankle on the way over? And it's just like, life is not that hard. You just have to take the actions that you need to do in order to solve. If you're trying to solve for X, what do you need to do to get to X? Okay, I need to take this action to do so. I don't know if my podcast would exist if people just took action. Like when I wrote my book, I was like, what the fuck do I talk about? Like if I zoom out, I have 1,600 podcast episodes, right? What do I talk about? And it's almost all of it is like mindset tricks and understanding yourself in psychological ways to understand yourself more so that you can actually do what you need to do to create the life you want.
Why do you think most people don't achieve their goals?
Because I don't think they actually care enough. Like, so my very first mentor used to always say to me, he would always say, if your why is strong enough, your how will reveal itself. And so what he always meant by that is that whenever you set a goal towards something, you need to figure out what the why is behind it. Like, why do you actually want to do it? I think the other thing that really holds a lot of people back is who they think they are. It's like, I have a friend that has become pretty successful, and he grew up really, really poor in the ghetto. And he said, basically, when you grow up really poor and you see people that are successful, make a lot of money, it's like a different language. Like, you just don't speak that language. And so when you grow up, and a lot of people think, well, oh, I have an alcoholic father, so I can't be successful. My mom said I was worthless, or, this person broke my heart because I'm unlovable. And so they have this identity of who they think they are. And when you have an identity of who you think you are, you always take actions that line up with that identity. And so one of the biggest reasons why people don't hit their goals is because they're not taking the action towards their goals, because they don't actually think that they're the type of person that can do it. And so one of the biggest things I think people can do is actually shift the identity of who they think they are, which sounds near impossible. It's like, oh yeah, well, I'm Rob, I've always been Rob. Oh, I'm Cody, I've always been Cody. Like, it's like, but you have to understand, like, who you think you are is literally a character you're just waking up and deciding to play every single day. Like I was literally thinking about this today, earlier this morning. I had Matthew McConaughey on my podcast like 4 years ago, right? And I was like, I wonder if that's actually how he is. Like, is he actually that guy? Like, is he actually that cool? Or is he just such a good actor that when the camera turns on, whenever he's on an interview, that he is just, turns that character on. And I like 5 minutes before we started, and I was like, oh my God, he's that guy. But then I realized, like, what if one day he just woke up and was like, I want to be this character. He decided to be that character, and now that character is loved by everybody. And so it's like the phrase Alan Watts says, where he says, you're under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. Like, somebody can wake up and just decide to be somebody different tomorrow. Like, I wore a black shirt today. I can wear a white one tomorrow. So it's like, imagine just if you're a really shy person, you're not good in sales, but you have this company and you've got to get like sales going, that you just wake up today and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to be really outgoing today and just see what it happens. And if it works for your business, maybe you're like, you know what? I'm going to take that. I'm going to try to become a little bit more outgoing. And so I think there are two reasons why is because they don't have a purpose, like a why behind why they want to go for the goal. And the second thing is they actually don't think that they can be the type of person that does it, but their identity is literally just as thin as a character that anybody plays on TV. Another big piece of it is the fears. And so like with the identities, like their self-limiting beliefs, what they think of themselves. The fears is like what they're fearing, what pain they're anticipating in the future. And the third thing is like they just don't have a purpose behind it. They don't have a why that's driving them towards it. And so it's not really that hard. It's just that most people are deciding to, be addicted to their phones. They're not deciding a lot of times. They're just unconsciously addicted to their phones. They're unconsciously addicted to, eating this trashy food. They're unconsciously addicted to watching Netflix. They're addicted to, sleeping in. And most people will choose the easy route. Like that is what we do, is we choose easy. And it's like the only time that somebody will really make a change in their life is when the pain of staying the same is more painful than the pain of change. And if they just understand that, like you just have to look at your life, fast forward it 10 years and think, well, if I'm in the exact same position right now in 10 years, am I going to be happy with myself? Is it going to be worse? First mentor used to always say either green and growing or brown and dying. You're either getting better, like there's no such thing as staying in the same place. If you're in the same place 10 years from now, you're worse than you were today. And so it's like you have to understand that staying the same has to become more painful than the change that you have to put in, because like it's really like my true belief that life is either hard now and easy later, or it's easy now and hard later. In time will always catch up with you. Like time is the greatest equalizer, and it is either your best friend or it's your worst enemy. It's your best friend if you do the hard stuff now. It is your worst enemy if you're choosing an easier life now.
You've also talked a lot about brain chemistry and how understanding your brain chemistry has made you able to take more action.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
So, yeah, I love to talk about it. So I'm really into like this incredible machine that we're given, but we have no idea how to use. Like we're born with the most complex piece of machinery in the entire world, but we have no manual of how to use it. So I'm always like, how can I figure out how this thing works so that therefore I can use it to my benefit? And so like the thing that I think is the most interesting and like that really drives me, even literally today, and I'm not even kidding you, if you've ever sat down and created a course or created a book or something, the very first thing that hits you is like, oh, fuck. I'm like, dude, I've got so much to do before the end of the year, and I'm just thinking this in my head, right? And so I'm thinking that in my head, and I'm like, I just have to start. And the reason why I know I have to start is because, so when your brain, when you sit down and you're like, I'm gonna do something different, when your brain is getting ready to focus, it releases two things. It releases acetylcholine and it releases epinephrine. And so those two things, acetylcholine and epinephrine, are what make you start to focus in on something. The problem with that is that acetylcholine and epinephrine actually come from the parts of the brain that feel like anxiety. And so if we're about to do something and we're about to feel more focused, the feeling up of warming up in our brain should actually make you feel anxious, because it's your brain starting to warm up for focus that's about to happen. And so I know that it takes on average about 6 minutes for a brain to warm up, right? So it's like if you go into a gym, like my trainer came over today, like I didn't go and like start pulling 100 pounds immediately. Like I had to do stretches first, and I had to do the movement first, and we had to do all the crazy stuff that he likes to do. And then we could go and I could actually work on the 100-pound kettlebell, right? Because I needed to warm up. It's the exact same thing where like your brain, when it's about to focus, it's got to go through this little bit of a warm-up phase. The thing that's really interesting though is that warm-up phase feels like stress and anxiety because it comes from that part of the brain. So when I sat down today, I was immediately flooded with like the stress and anxiety of like how big of a task this is for me to do. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, but it's almost the end of the year, and we've got Thanksgiving coming up, and I've got Christmas coming up, and I've got to go home for Christmas. Oh my God, am I going to get? And so it's like all of this is happening, and I had to be like, hold on, take a step back. You're feeling this way because your brain's about to focus. You know that your brain's about to focus. So all you have to do is fight through on average the first 6 minutes, and that's it. And you fight through those 6 minutes, and your brain will actually start to become more focused. That's one of the most interesting things that I think is when we feel stress and anxiety, we think that it's, oh, I need to back away. But really what it is, this feeling of like, oh, I should actually lean in because neurologically, it's my brain warming up to focus so that I can get this task done.
Is this a rule that you have, the 6-minute rule?
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't let myself stop. But
this is a good, you should name and frame this thing. Is this something you talk about on the internet? Yeah, I've never, because you're right. Every time I go and sit down to write in particular, I get distracted or I get annoyed or I get a little twitchy or I kind of got to fidget around for a little bit and I fiddle fuck my way through those first 6 minutes until finally somehow I relax. Right. But if you know the thing that's coming, then the expectation is so much easier once it hits. But often I don't think about it that way. So I think that's really good. You got to trademark that.
You're going to have to try it out and then text me and let me know. Okay,
I'll put a little
6
timer.
minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. And then just as soon as you get past it, you'll realize that you kind of like get into flow state and you kind of forget about the stress and anxiety and like you're into it now. And then you end up being done eventually. You're like, oh my God, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
It's interesting because when you work out, you always anticipate, well, you have a 5 or 10 minute warm up.
Right.
Like that's just, you're not going to go in there and sprint right away, especially at our age. You're going to chill a little bit. You're going to warm up, you're going to stretch out. And if you did the same thing with creative work, would that not be the same? And then you could decrease that writer's block, that stress, that I can't do this.
Yes.
Which is fascinating.
Isn't it?
The other thing that you talk about a lot is the dopamine reward system and how you can use it to create better habits in your life.
Yeah.
How can somebody use dopamine to make their life better or to make habits in their life easier?
Yeah, so dopamine usually gets put together with serotonin. So there's serotonin, dopamine. Everyone's always like, oh, those are the feel-good chemicals. Serotonin is the gratitude, you feel good. Like if you're ever done with work and you're like, man, you're looking at your husband, you're like, I love him so much. Oh my God, I'm so happy I have this business. That's serotonin that's going through your brain. That's not dopamine, right? So it's the here and now, I feel good in this moment chemical. Dopamine, on the other hand, if you look at most of the chemicals that are extremely addictive, like cocaine, crack, all of those, they are usually high dopamine chemicals, like those drugs. When you do cocaine, usually your dopamine goes up by about 250%.
Jesus.
So it just raises like crazy. So then when it's gone, your brain wants it again. And so it's very addictive in the sense of we want to find things that are going to give us dopamine. The really interesting thing about dopamine though is dopamine is 100% subjective as well. And so what I mean by that is that you can basically make your brain release dopamine whenever you want to. And so this is how you use it. So most people, whenever they go for a habit, like for instance, let's say it's a long day that they have and they go for a glass of wine. That glass of wine makes them feel good and they're gonna wanna do it again. They naturally wanna go towards that. That's their body, that's the dopamine of being able, I wanted this thing, I've got this thing, now I feel good. But then after you're done with that glass of wine, what happens? Oh my God, I want another glass of wine. And so it usually ends up going that way. So whenever you sit to yourself and you're like, okay, I want to do this task, how can I make like I've always thought to myself, like, how can I make myself addicted to taking the action I need to create the life that I want, right? Like if like for instance, people are always like, how have you done 1,600 podcast episodes? I accidentally created a dopamine reward system in myself. And so this is basically how it works, okay? You can literally get done with something. So whenever I get done with a podcast, every time what I do is I change my shirt because I want to make it look like it's a different day. You know, like content days, right? You just got to change your shirt.
Yep.
So I would change my shirt. And because I get jazzed up about creating content, I'm like, I love what I do. I did this thing where every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like you're killing it. This is amazing. What I didn't realize is that I was then creating a dopamine reward system where my body was releasing dopamine, which is what it's signaling to my brain and body is that what you just did release dopamine do it again. So I just took the action that I needed to in order to make myself be more successful. I celebrated it, and that celebration released dopamine, which then said my brain and body that creating the episode is something you should do again.
Levi, are we going to start doing this?
You guys should have a dance party at the end of every single episode, whenever you get done with the reels. And so what's happening is you're actually teaching your brain to be addicted to this thing. So like another example, let's say like somebody wants to go to the gym, right? Most people, and I was this way for a really long time, do not celebrate themselves until they hit the goal. The problem with that is that you might not hit the goal for a month, for 2 months, for 12, if it's a year-long goal. If you're gonna lose 30 pounds in 2025, and you won't be happy until you get to that 30 pounds being lost, you are not giving your brain dopamine, which means that it's not going to like the process. Because what do most people do? This is what most people do, according to what I hear from people, right? They go to the gym, they come back, they take a shower, they see their naked body in the mirror, and they're like, oh, you still look fucking fat, right? And then they talk shit to themselves when they just got the thing done what they wanted to do. So they're actually saying to their brain, without them realizing it, the thing that you just did was not something that you enjoy, it's not good for you, right? Versus you go to the gym, as soon as you walk in the gym, talk to yourself. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you did this. You're doing this. This is amazing. You get done with your first set. You look yourself in the mirror. You don't say it out loud unless you're, have a home gym if you want to. Otherwise, people are going to think you're crazy, right? People are going to like take their cameras and go towards you after. Yeah, you sexy bitch. You look amazing, right? But it's like you talk to yourself in your head after every single set that you have, and then makes you more likely to show up the next day because it feels good because your brain is subjectively releases dopamine throughout the entire process. So then you actually start becoming addicted to the process because your brain says, oh, when I do this, I get dopamine. When I do this, I get dopamine. Okay, I want dopamine, so I want to do this. They've actually found that for people, if you have a small piece of chocolate, because chocolate releases dopamine as well, if you have a small piece of chocolate after working out, you're more likely to show up the next day to work out again. Not like an entire candy bar, right?
I love this for me.
So it's like a tiny little piece, right? So it'll just release a little bit. It's like giving yourself the prize that's saying what you're doing is good, you're on the right path. And so I always say like most people have results-based goals, which is like when I lose those 30 pounds. What I want to celebrate is I want to create is action-based goals. What's the action that I need to do in order to get to this place? And when I get done with the action, I celebrate myself, which means I'm more likely to do the action again. And if I just keep showing up and I'm consistent with it, like we spoke about earlier, eventually I'll just end up at the result that I wanted in the first place.
That's great. Yeah, when I go to the gym, why I like arms is because when I'm, getting my little
at
pump in, I'm looking at them. I'm like, look at that. That appears to be a vein.
Yeah.
And it's an immediate feedback loop because there's a mirror in front of me. Whereas legs, if my leggings on, I can't really see what's happening there. No reward.
No.
So I got to start going. I got to start going in shorts or something.
It's these little tricks.
Flexing.
Like it's just like how can I just make the life I want and taking the action to do it easier is all I really want to focus on for people.
Yeah. What's interesting too is, so right now I have a family member who is trying to get a job. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I was talking to him last night and he's like, man, it's just a really tough process. Like it's not fun and it's a little lonely and I'm a little sad about it. Mm. And my response was, that seems reasonable because it sucks until finally it doesn't, but then you're done. Yeah. And there's really no positive feedback loop whatsoever. Sure. It's all negative feedback loops until you're done, except if you do it your way. Mm-hmm. If instead you say, all right, I don't have a job right now. I want a job. So every single day, what am I going to do? I'm going to reach out to 10 different companies. I'm going to individually ping 10 different people. I'm going to pick up the phone and try to schedule a breakfast or walk or something with 3 people I don't know each day. And if I do that every day, just the action, I'll check a box. I'll have a run. I'll have a glass of wine. Yep. And I bet he'd feel a lot better if he did that.
I had when I was back in the Cutco days, my first manager, I don't think he knew a dopamine reward system, but he basically kind of left little trails, kind of like E.T. when you like to put the Reese's Pieces and like he would come and go from one to another.
I like that. That's a millennial throwback right there.
Right. So this is what he had us do is we would come in and we'd do these things called phone jams and we would make 100 phone calls, right? 100 cold calls. These people do not expect me to call them, all of it. And he's like, what's your favorite?
Knives too, right? That's a brutal job.
That's super brutal, right? Imagine training people. I trained 2,000 people to do
That's nuts.
Right? It's a wild thing. My wife, we have a joke because she ghosted me for a little while, but she never told me no. And so I'm just like, I'm a salesperson, so I just kept following up. Like I was just used to follow up. And then eventually she's like, all right, fine, let's go on a date.
Put her in your calendar. You're
Like she says she went on the first date with me because she was like, he's nice, but you know, she wanted to be single at the time. So she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go on a date with him just to prove to myself that I don't like him. And then she went on the first date with me and she's like, shit, I like this guy. And then from there, we started dating and it went well. So I don't know what we were talking about before that, but yes,
Well, you were talking about your boss, when you were younger, created a dopamine
the
reward
dopamine,
system
yes.
by accident for your 100 call
So
days.
he would say, what's your favorite candy? And I was like, Skittles. He goes, okay. When you come in on Thursday, I'll bring a bag of Skittles with me. And what he would do is we would have this piece of paper and it had 1 to 100 on the piece of paper. So there's 10 lines, then it was 10 lines, there's 10 of them, right? And so at the end of number 10, as soon as I crossed off 10, there were 3 Skittles. At the end of 20, there were 3 Skittles, all the way down. And then I could finish the bag of Skittles when I finished 100 calls, which is like, I'm trying to get myself to this thing, these 10 calls, which are just brutal to call people who don't expect you to call. And then you get 3 Skittles. So I'm like, oh, I want to get to the Skittles.
The Skittles were enough?
Yeah, they were enough.
Was it just
19-year-old college kid? I didn't want to spend $4 on
it.
Yeah.
Or was monetary?
Well, it was probably both.
It was
I think
probably
it's probably Skittles more than anything else.
Yeah,
that's what
I think if
it
I
was.
tried Skittles with my employees here, they'd tell me to fucking
Yeah,
go.
they
I don't think
probably would.
is that going to work, Levi? He might work, actually. Maybe
might.
I'm underestimating.
It
Okay.
might. And so like for me, that drove me to go take the calls. And so I think it's just that little thing of like, how can I have like a little bit of like the prize at the end of doing the thing I want to do, right? Instead of, and that's for today, not like when I hit my goal in 3 months. It's like, what do I need to do today? Because most of the time what we do is we do the thing in our business that we need to do, and there's no revenue coming in today from what we just did. And we're like, damn it, like I'm still so far, like I've got to figure out how to pay the damn bills, versus being like, I did what I needed to do to get me one step further. I'm going to celebrate that thing, which is the difference between like action-based goals, which is taking the action, versus only celebrating on results-based goals.
What else you're reminding me of is how little we actually need to get motivated.
Oh yeah.
You know, because you think about like Robinhood or E-Trade,
Mm-hmm.
they literally addict us to stock trading because of confetti that pops up and a bright button and a little noise.
Yeah.
And so, but we don't play that game with ourselves enough. And we think that we need to do this intense, huge reward at the end, which is often what I think about. I'm like, well, when I do this, I'll
buy a watch or something like that.
Big, huge end game. But actually, it's really killing us because we're not doing it every step of the way.
Exactly.
That's such a little thing that I've
You're
even
delaying
forgotten.
dopamine is what you're doing, which
Right.
is what you're actually trying to go for.
How does this work in practice? So let's say that somebody's listening right now and they're not where they want to be in their career. You know, they're like, man, life hasn't worked out exactly like I wanted it to. I wish that I had more money. I wish I was where I wanted to be today. How do you get them down the rabbit hole all the way to the truth? Because I think a lot of them probably stop really high. They're like, I want to be richer. I want more money. I want to be successful.
Yeah.
But what are the questions you keep asking to get them to that deep, dark place?
Well, so there's a thing that I found years ago. It's called the 7 levels of why. And it's literally, okay, you want to do X, Y, Z. Why do you want to do that? And you come up with a whole reason why you want to do it. And you say, why do you want to do that? You come up with a whole reason. If you go 7 levels why, usually people start to actually tell you the truth and get through their own BS. I think the problem is that a lot of people are very surface level nowadays. Like we're very surface level with ourselves. We're very surface level with other people. Like people don't really know themselves. Like they think that they do. And then they start to work on themselves and they start to work with a journal and they meditate and whatever it is. And they actually start to figure themselves out more. And I think the biggest piece is that if you just sit down and ask, why do I want this? 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 Either you're just going to be lying to yourself or you're going to start to unravel some pieces. And what I think is really important is like the way that I always talk about journaling and how you want to do this is if why's not hitting with you, go a level deeper by saying who, what, why, when, or how. So it's who, what, why, when, how. It's not just why, but it's like, okay, let's say I want to, you know, make $500,000. Why do I want to make $500,000? Because I've never made that much before. All right, I'm not getting something there. Who? Okay, if I use who, whose life will be impacted if I make $500,000? My children. Okay, who, what, why, when, how. Let me try another one. How's that going to change your life? How's that going to change your education? What opportunities will become available for them if I make more money and we live in a better part of town? Right? It's like, what, could their education, I mean, we live in America, it's a shitty fact, but if you live in a better part of town, your children get a better education. I had inside of my book, I wrote a story of one of my very first clients that I worked with one-on-one, and his goal was to make $100,000 a year. Like, he's like, I want to make $100,000 a year. And I was like, okay, why? He's like, because I've never done it before. I was like, okay, tell me why. And we went deeper and deeper and deeper, and we ended up finding out the reason why he wanted to do it was because he had just gotten a divorce. He lived just outside of New York in a really bad part of town. His wife lived in a worse part of town, ex-wife, worst part of town. And we ended up finding out that his biggest fear was that, and this had to be like watered down for the book because the publisher didn't want this exact story, but his biggest fear was that his daughter would get pregnant by 13 and his son would be murdered in a drive-by. And so that ended up being his reason for wanting to get to $100,000 a year. And so instead of saying I want to make $100,000 a year because I've never done it before, it now became I want to make $100,000 in a year so that I could put a down payment on a house, so I could take my children, I can put them into a better part of town, they can get a better education and have their lives completely changed because I decided to work harder towards it. So if you start thinking this way, and like who, what, why, when, how, you can start going deep with yourself and you realize if you can take it from just yourself and start putting children and start putting your family into it and your spouse into it, your mother, father, usually you'll start to find that the reason ultimately why you want to do something is how it's going to make you feel and how it's going to impact the people who you love. And if you can realize that and start to work through those lenses, which is like, oh, so hold on. I want to grow this business. Why do I want to grow this business? I want to grow this business because I want to make money, because I want to buy a Ferrari, whatever it is that people want, right? And then you start asking yourself, well, how's that going to impact my children's life? I mean, let's just be real. If you're able to give more opportunities to your children, they're probably going to end up having a better life. And one of the pieces that's an important part of it that I want to say though, and we haven't spoke on, is there's this misconception, because I think people do it wrong. There's this misconception that if I want to be a really successful business owner, I have to have a terrible relationship with my children, or I have to like spend less time with my children, right? Like that happens a lot where people like I talk to people and they're like, yeah, I want to be a successful business owner, but I don't want to spend less time with my children. I'm like, who the fuck said that you had to spend less time with your children? Like, yeah. Right? So it's like, the thing is like, I think that's an old paradigm of like, if I want to be successful, then my relationship with my wife needs to, hurt because of that. I don't get to see my children as much because of that. That is like a scarcity mindset. And scarcity is or. Like, so it's like, it's either this or it's this. It's either this or it's this. That's scarcity. Abundance is and, which is how do I make a very successful business and spend more time with my children? Like that's an and. And so what you realize is that at this moment I might not know, but I need to evolve myself. I need to evolve. There's either a skill set that I need to learn or there's knowledge that I need to learn in order to be able to delegate to my team members how to hire better, how to delegate better, so that I can spend more time with my family. Like my overall goal of becoming a successful business owner was to make a bunch of money, but also to be a present father because my father was never present with me. And so the cool thing about it is I've set my business up where I need to show up at certain points, but I'm not necessary all the time. So I can spend more time with my son and can spend more time with my wife. And we can disappear and go travel for 3 weeks and only do 2 check-in calls to make sure the business is still running. And so it's not that that in order to have a successful business or be successful or make a bunch of money or impact people, that other people have to suffer because of that you love. It's not a or problem, it's really just a how do I become better problem. How do you become better? I have a sign that's on my desk and it just says be better. And that's it. And it's not like me being an asshole to myself, it's me just going, okay, I've got this thing I've got to solve for my business. It's stressing me out because I don't know what the answer is. And I look at it, I'm like, be better. Okay, there's a more expansive version, there's a more evolved version of Rob that knows how to solve this problem. There's knowledge I need to get or there's skill set I need to get in order to solve this. That's all I need to figure out. And so, yeah, I think if people just focus on if I just need to be better, then I can figure out a way to, have this reality and that reality and that reality all live together and not have to live in scarcity. Speaking of being better, what about when you're working with somebody who's really resistant to change? Mm-hmm. Do you have a process where you can just shake somebody out of ruining their life? Yeah, I mean, the thing I like to think about is like what the future could be if somebody doesn't change, And so it's like, if we go back to the whole idea of like the only time somebody will make a change is when the pain of staying the same is more painful than the pain of change. Like I had a guy one time that came up to me after a speech that I gave like 5 years ago, and he was pretty overweight, and he's like, Rob, I want to lose weight. I don't know how to lose weight. What should I do? And I was like, okay, well, tell me about it. What have you tried? I was like, what's your fear that if you don't lose weight? He's like, well, I'm just afraid that like, I won't be healthy later on in life. I'm like, okay, that's not really good. Like, what are you actually afraid of? And after talking to this guy for a few minutes, I was like, okay, what's your biggest fear? If you don't lose the weight that you want to lose, what's your biggest fear is going to happen? He goes, my biggest fear, his daughter was like 10 at the time. He goes, my biggest fear is that I won't be around to walk my daughter down the aisle. And I was like, that's it. I was like, okay, so walk through this with me real quick. Let's say, say his name's John. John, let's say that you decide not to change. You decide not to lose weight. You decide not to eat healthier. You decide not to go to the gym, walk, do all the things that you know you should do. And you're fully capable of doing right now. And we fast forward, let's say we fast forward 15 years. Your daughter's 25 years old. And because of the fact that you didn't take the action that you needed to, you end up passing away from a heart attack. And as your daughter's walking down the aisle by herself, when you should be there with her, she sees her husband that's up in front, and over to the left side, which is always the bride's side, on the left corner, there is your suit that's folded up in the corner, and she has to see your suit folded up on the first chair instead of you actually being in that suit and walking around the aisle. What does that feel like to you? And he was like bawling, and he's like, that's like he was just thinking about that, right? And it was a physical feeling, like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this moment again. And he's like, I don't know how I could live with myself knowing that is a possibility. And I was like, okay, here's my email. Send me an email in 3 months. Let me know how it's going. And so he sent me an email in like 3 months. He ended up losing like 20 pounds. He sent me an email almost like a year later. He lost like 75 pounds. And the reason why was because he put himself into the future. Because we like to think of like right now. Right now, okay, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm okay. Like I'm a little uncomfortable where it is. Like I'm not breathing as well as I should be, but I'm okay. But if he fast forwards and he starts thinking about what his life could be, how his daughter's gonna be affected, how his wife's gonna be affected, and that's a reality that could possibly be a true reality if he doesn't change. Then he was like, I can't let that shit happen. I need to change. But there is also the aspect of like, you can't, like one of my second mentor used to always say this to me. He used to always say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Because what drove me crazy about when I was in Cutco is I'd have these people that had so much potential, and they could have been so good, but they just wouldn't show up. They wouldn't do what they needed to do. And it used to drive me crazy because I was like, how do I get them to change? And he was like, Rob, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. The only thing that you can do is try your best to help other people. But if somebody doesn't change, you're not the one that's in control of that. And so it's like, if somebody can put themselves into the future, I think that helps a lot. But ultimately, if somebody else wants to change, it's fully up to them and not up to me.
Rob Dial, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
North Carolina. You just came back from North Carolina. You had shared quite a bit publicly, but about what was happening there. You flew in on the ground. You heard about everything else Tim has going on in the world. But where I wanted to start was maybe a little bit of the bad before we get to some of the beautiful silver linings you had too, which was, can you tell us what you saw there and what you guys were doing?
I saw failure. You know, we say that no one's ever coming to save you. This is an idea that I think all special operations lives by. You know, we have to be, one, intrinsically motivated, but more importantly, we have to be completely self-sustained, whether it's SEAL teams, the Green Berets, Rangers. When you go into a place, the expectation that's no one's going to come and get you. It's a scary thought that is the case for an American. That was the case there. These people were completely isolated. They had their lives, their existence was so dire. It was just like this tiny little thread that was keeping them alive. Now that temperatures are plummeting, you know, there's still isolated areas of Western North Carolina and Tennessee that are, you know, this is biblical, epic level proportions of disaster. We by the fourth day, had a third trip going into Raleigh and into Charlotte to pick up more body bags. And of course, none of this is reported because it's an election year. The number of missing is still in the hundreds. And again, not being reported. And then in addition to no one's coming to save you, I in the first few days, we are in direct conflict with the people that are supposed to come and help you. They didn't like that, the individual responsibility idea of, do you want to get out of my way? I can do more than you can. You have 5 helicopters. I now have 55 helicopters. How about you give us air priority and you get out of the way? And they're like, but what if one of you guys mess up? I'm like, we won't. Just literally get out of our way. But they were trying to control airspace for their 5 helicopters because they didn't like the operations that we were doing, which were in conflict to the priority of theirs. And everybody that comes and works for us has to be not just positive energy creators, but they have to, when they go into an area, they can't take off of the economy in any way. So they have to bring their own water, their own food, their own energy, their own communication ability, whether it's Starlink or Iridium phones. And I was trying to put a young man with his young, beautiful wife and their brand new infant child into a hotel. And when I got to the hotel at 4:00 in the morning after doing a health and welfare check on the infant that had run out of baby formula and they hadn't showered in 5 days, I go to the only hotel, well, there's 2 in the town that had power, and it was completely booked up with federal FEMA personnel. And I was pissed.
So, first of all, this isn't your first disaster area that you've gone into, both as an active duty member of the military, which you still are currently, but also, with a nonprofit organization or an NGO like Save Our Allies. That was you in Afghanistan as well, during the last.
Yeah, we're starting with some heavy stuff. Good morning.
I know,
Monday morning, everybody.
They're like, I thought we were talking about
stocks.
P&Ls.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to go to from there is, I was reading this tweet that you did that I thought was so good, and you had some silver lining, which was, you said, a 92-year-old Army Ranger vet volunteered to help the crew do evacuations. He said he is ready to go if we need him, said he hasn't jumped in 40 years, but has enough under his belt to help. I love the American spirit. So was there an American spirit that you saw despite it all?
Yeah, we'll super swing to the positive side of this. From Afghanistan to Western North Carolina, the response of the American people, the generosity of the entrepreneur and veteran community to do what the government couldn't even do. We're $35 trillion in debt because our government is so gigantic, yet it took a few individuals stepping up. Isaiah 6:8, I heard the voice of the Lord say, who shall I send? And I responded with, here I am, send me. Like, that was the war cry to thousands of capable, incredible people. And that 92-year-old is I tweeted that to represent an idea. There were 25-year-olds with Toyota Overland. We make fun of them, and it's totally fine that we do because they're kind of dorks. And they came in from Tennessee, or they drove up from northern Florida, from Louisiana, or from Mississippi, and they got a couple of chainsaws in the back, Still or Husqvarna, and FEMA has roadblocks, and they're like, you guys aren't allowed to go up there. Like, you can't get up there. And they're like, want to make a bet? I'll take 2 of them rednecks in a Toyota Overlander than over 100 PhDs from the federal government. Yeah. And they literally they could get into areas that nobody could get into. And they were bringing life-sustaining support to these people in these secluded areas. And it was just a will to make a difference. Grit. It was grit. So American.
I love that. How do you organize chaos like that? Like, I saw pictures of you sleeping in the back of your truck with like diapers next to you, baby formula, a little stove range. How do you organize a group of people in a time of chaos?
Yeah. Triage of, setting your priorities and then being able to look at the resources that you have and apply the resources to those priorities, that applies to everything that you could do in life. Whether it's like, in my case, I have 4 kids at home and like a gorgeous wife. I got businesses. So in a day, I set my priorities of what I need to do. And then I look at the resources that I have where it's, assistants and directors. And then I execute those things in accordance with the priorities. In a disaster area, I look at the priorities of work that we have to do, life, limb, eyesight, prioritize that by age. Obviously in the bell curve, the older and the younger are more vulnerable. And then look to a map and then look at the resources that we have. Cool, I have 25 overland vehicles, 55 helicopters, a total of 900 personnel. We have 2 warehouses full of sustainment supplies. So let's go ahead and task organize and triage the people that we need to get to, and then take the resources that I have and address those in accordance to the priorities.
Yeah, I think a lot of people imagine when you say special operations that you're just like, we're going to go shoot some motherfuckers, right?
Yeah.
They just think you guys are badass.
We are.
Chris, you are.
Yep. Right, Chris?
That is true. They're very dangerous men.
Yeah.
But they don't realize how much planning, logistics, and sophistication goes into what you do. So how have you translated that to the business world? Like, I've been in your office where you have like 47 businesses in one office, and you have, all of these sort of independent operators. What do you think you brought? Like, what was the skill set that you brought that was the most critical from the military to civilian life? Yeah.
There's no difference in leadership from military leadership to civilian leadership. Leadership is leadership. And when it comes to strategy, rehearsals, and time management, civilian and military approach to that, I think, should be the same. It's one of the many reasons that you see so many successful people from the special operations community take not that they're regimented, but they are disciplined in their approach with, Jocko with Jocko Fuel and Origin, or Evan Hafer with Black Rifle Coffee, or Mike Glover with Fieldcraft Survival. The list just goes on of these successful special operations entrepreneurs. And they really just take the models that they learned in the military and they apply them. So yeah, we do, the majority of our work is in planning. If I'm going to be going into a meeting, I know who I'm meeting with. I know what the ask is going to be. I know financially what I am going to benefit, the return on investment. And then in addition to the planning kind of strategic approach to it, we also, this 1/3, 2/3 rule of, we also spend 2/3 of our time rehearsing and kind of wargaming what the potential outcomes could be.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, so Bin Laden, before they go in, of course they planned it, right? If they had a month to plan it, they spend 1/3 of their time, they spend 10 days of their time planning. The other 20 days of that month, they just rehearse it. They rehearse and they rehearse. They rehearse their contingencies. They rehearse their reloads of a helicopter going down, which it did, Navy SEALs. 20 days, 1/3, 2/3 of rehearsals.
Running a podcast or any content operation is a grind. The editing, the clipping, the captions. It's enough to make anyone quit before the fun even starts. Enter Riverside. This tool is your content powerhouse. Forget decent quality virtual calls. Riverside gives you 4K video, pristine audio, and makes deadweight tasks disappear faster than bad ideas. Their text-based editor slashes, silences, and edits errors with one click. Needing some extra clips? Riverside's AI Magic Clips finds the moments people actually care about and delivers them to you. No guessing, no endless replays. And here's the kicker. You don't even need to record in the platform to use its features. You have the option to upload your footage to Riverside, letting it handle the heavy lifting. So you can save your brain power for the creative stuff. So stop drowning in edits, get busy creating, hit the link in the description, use code Cody, and thank me later. So how does that play out in your normal life? Like, would that be like when you go into a meeting, you have a brief for every meeting, like a military brief? Like, here's who's going to be there, here's the agenda, here's what I want to get out of it. Somebody preps that for you. It goes on your calendar. And then, is that what happens?
Yeah, but before it goes on my calendar, it kind of goes through a refiner's fire of, do I have to take this?
That's a good question.
Can Carl do it? Can Matt do it? Can Nick do it? Can Matt Boudreau do it? So depending on the business, is this something that requires my time? And if it's not something that I have to address. If it's a problem and they're coming with a solution, I don't have to be in. You already gave the solution. So there's this beautiful thing that's happening in the military right now. They're reorganizing the way that they do leadership in something that's called mission command. Mission command is a decentralized approach where I'm empowering the next lowest leader, the subordinate, to assume risk and responsibility and be able to make the decision on their own as long as they're in alignment with the philosophy and commander's intent. So my job is to communicate clearly my intent. Like, this is what we're trying to do with this business or with the culture. And then the person that is running that project should be able to make all of the decisions. The only time it should come to me is if there isn't a solution. So here's 3 bad options.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm like, that sucks. Let's go with option B, which is the least of the 3.
I always giggle that I think the CEO's real job, everybody wants a CEO job, and all it is you get the worst problems all the
That's
time
right.
that nobody else can solve.
Yeah, worst personnel problems usually.
Yep.
And then worst financial situations.
Yeah. The other thing that I've really noticed with you, getting to know you over the last year or so, is you do a really good job setting expectations and communicating very concisely. So I was wondering, did you always know that? Did you learn that? How do you teach
retarded.
somebody?
Yeah. And you ask my wife if I'm a good communicator. No.
Maybe not that type.
Yeah. It's discipline, but I think it's become a byproduct of just not having time. And then when you don't have time and you look at the available time that you have, and everybody says that time is this most important resource. I argue that attention is the most important resource. I could be doing something specific with my time, but if my attention is elsewhere, or 100% of my attention is focused on something else or ineffective or inefficient in the time that I have, I'm just wasting my attention. Yeah. So to answer your question concisely, I know I'm pretty self-aware of what I'm good at. Yeah. And all of the other things, I'm not going to spend my time on because I'm wasting my attention on those things. I'd rather just defer to the expert. As I'm over there talking to Chris and I'm struggling through a couple of things, and he's really good at those things. So I was like, can we go talk about these things so I can use your expertise to answer things that I don't truly understand about how to invest in some things that are coming across the desk? He's like, yeah, jiu-jitsu, coffee, money, done.
Yeah, it's interesting because I found the people who are the most successful typically have the least knowledge ego out there. Not that we don't all have big egos. I'm sure you have a big ego in many ways, but you're like, no, I don't care where the information comes from. If it's better than me, smarter than me, gonna make me more money, gonna make me more efficient, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times the people who don't succeed are the ones that they think they got to do it all by themselves.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And as I've had 5 different careers in my life at this point, from fighting for world championships to obviously in the military, the entrepreneur, author, the Walt Whitman approach of don't be judgmental, be curious. Your ego will always get in the way of that. If I know everything, and I will be judgmental about how much money you have or your approach to business. Inversely, the opposite end of that is, I just want to understand more. I just want to know more, and I'm so curious about it. How many times am I asking you about how to do something or what to do? It's that curiosity is what gives us growth.
Yeah, it's so good. You said another thing that I loved, which was you tweeted, a wise man once said, be careful who you let on your ship, because some people will sink the whole ship just because they can't be the captain.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that, and how do you watch out for that?
I think there's 3 kind of energies with people. You have people that create negative energy. They're just like a succubus of joy and attention, and they need to be in these positional places of authority. Mm-hmm. And then you have kind of energy neutral people that they want to contribute, but they also have their goals and their ambitions, and those are amazing employees. Those are incredible people. And then there's just the natural leaders. That's the Mike Weimers. That's the General Georges. That's the Mattises. That bring a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of expertise, no ego, and they joyfully will stand in the back while somebody else gets the credit for their accomplishments. Yeah. It's a really dangerous thing who we surround ourselves with. You know, it's scriptural. It's very clear, you know, that you effectively become who you surround yourself with. This also, studies have shown, economically, financially, your circle, plus or minus $100,000, is where you're going to end up. Yeah. But I am disgusted at the ladder climber that's always looking for like a rich person to hang around. That's a disgusting person. Yeah. But you know, the people that I get to spend time with are joyful, kind, energy positive people that are incredibly successful as a byproduct of who they are as a person.
Yeah. So when you're looking for those natural leaders and the energy positive, how do you find them? Like, can you tell when you go and meet somebody, can you immediately look at them in the windows through their soul and say, that's you?
I having been embezzled a few times, I say,
haven't we all?
Yeah, I'm a great judge of character, right? A trained interrogator that gets, back to no ego. In the interview, you can usually tell pretty quickly somebody that's sincere and authentic, somebody that is kind and generous, and especially for like middle management or above, I always go and eat with them. I always want to share a meal with them. I want to see how they treat the staff. I want to see how long it takes them to pick what they're going to eat.
Amen. That's top priority.
Yeah. Man, you walk into, you know, we got great coffee in Austin, and they're like, hey, want to grab a cup of coffee? And they're like, yeah, let's meet at Starbucks. Cool. Not getting hired.
Yes. See? I didn't even prep it with that. Yeah. I have a war on Starbucks.
Yeah, but not just philosophically, because like we're on opposite ends, and they're a competitor, but there's terrible coffee with horrible milk. And then you walk in and they're like, you know, I want a soy latte with 2.5 pumps, and like you spelled my name on the cup wrong. And you know how they tip, I judge on that to see if they're a generous person or if they're like boastfully being generous because they're with me, or if like they're tipping to be appropriate and kind, and they like see a server's name and they use their name when they're addressing them. Like all these little tiny things are just little snapshots into who this person is. They sit down at the table to order, you know, and you're like, imagine that person in your office. I will wear their skin in like 5 days as they like, yeah. So like you got to create authentic opportunities to see who these people are. And anybody, when they're well fed, they're caffeinated, they're dressed up nice, and they walk into the office nice and prepared, they can put it all on a show for 20 minutes. You got to take them out of that environment to kind of get a picture of their character. And that's a hard thing to do sometimes.
That's a really good point. I also think about when I look back at like where I've gone wrong with my dad has a line that I love, which is like, you can't do a good deal with a bad guy. And I mean, I think about that a lot in business, or at least you better be real thoughtful if you're going to do a deal with a bad guy, and you better make sure to CYA. But one of the things that I've noticed too is it's hard for bad guys to last past like 4 or 5 p.m. Yeah. Like it's like it wears off throughout the day. And so I think that idea of just like increasing the surface area of exposure is a really easy way to figure out, do I actually want to work with this person? Do I like them? The other thing that I've noticed, I'd be curious if you have anything else about people who have been bad for you, because I do think your worst decisions won't usually be the actions taken, but the humans chosen. And so like I've noticed also those types, underhanded digs, passive aggressive, like real high indicator for doesn't really like you, doesn't like maybe super high charisma, but doesn't actually like you. Yeah. Have you noticed anything else that you thought, oh, anytime I see that, out?
Yeah, I try not to be like snap judgment on, because we don't know what's going on in somebody's life, but there's definitely in the aggregate and like the collective of how they treat other people. In that idea of, you know, after 4 p.m., again, that surface area of trying to find opportunities outside of this conducive environment for them to put on a show, where when in special operations during selections, whether it's BUD or Special Forces selection or any of the other units, you're always being selected. When we're recruiting, I wouldn't go and recruit somebody because they were like the best and the fastest. It's when they weren't on, we'll use the field, they weren't on the field, and they're on the bench and their team is out. And how are they supporting them? How are they encouraging them? When they come back in, hey, great job. Have you thought about doing this? Those are all selfless opportunities where they're not looking for the limelight. Rather, they're looking for ways to encourage the team to succeed. And when you look at professional athlete recruiters, they love going to games where that star player that they're there to recruit is playing against not a peer level team to see how good this person is. They already know how good they are. They're trying to get a peek into that person's character. Like, are they picking up gear at the end of the game? When the person has when one of their teammates has a rough session on the field or on the ice and comes off and they're like, oh man, like, you're doing great. Like, let's keep going. Like, you can get this. Those are the snapshots where, again, that motto of you're always being selected, you're always being graded, you're always where it's really difficult in the work environment to see into somebody's character and to see what their grit looks like. And when somebody shows you, believe them.
Yeah, that's true.
When they're a passive aggressive dick, they're a passive aggressive dick. When they're leaving early to go do the thing that they need to do, hey, I gotta believe them. And I've never let someone go in a layoff or fired somebody that I was not immediately relieved within 48 hours that was the right thing. And I wish that I had done it months prior.
Me too.
Ever.
I know. I've never once regretted a fire, which is fucking crazy.
But every single time you're like, why didn't I just do it like 2 months ago? It would have saved me. It would have, every single time.
Every time. You've also said something that I loved. You said,
I say a lot of stuff.
You said you want to avoid idiots in your life, live a life they can't exist in. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, and I mean it. Man, I was just texting with Andy Stumpf as I was driving here, hands free. I wasn't like on my phone, and I was not disparaging people, but I was rather praising this small circle of people that I have now, and this small circle in the refiner's fire. When you're making a weapon in a forge, you take a chunk of metal that's of good quality, but it still has a lot of imperfections in it, and it has to take a shape. And you stick it in the fire, you heat it up, which is torture to the metal, and then you take it out and you pound it. And every time that you pound it, those little tiny bursts of fire, those are imperfections coming out of the metal. And then you submerge it and you repeat that process hundreds of times. And then whatever that tool is supposed to become, a hammer, a sword, it then starts taking the shape of that. And your friends have to be that way. If it's a crappy piece of metal, it will break, it will rust, it will oxidize, it will chip, and it will fall away and ultimately become useless. That circle, I cannot have idiots in my life, and there are no idiots left in my life because they can't exist in the life that I live. That's a life of selflessness. That's a life of discipline. That's a life of commitment. That's a life of monogamy to my wife. That's a life of purpose for my children. And it's so clear and it's so obvious when people don't share those values. We're on a work trip and I'm walking in the lobby. The bar is to the left, the elevator is to the right. I know that our first meeting is at 8 a.m. in the morning. I was just in New Hampshire for SIG, and our first meeting was there at 8 o'clock. We're about 25 minutes, so I knew I had to leave by 7:30. I wanted to make sure I got a good, healthy breakfast with plenty of water. So moving in reverse planning, that means my workout is going to be at like 5:45, 6. Gives me a 45-minute workout, 25 minutes to get eggs, shower, dress, leave by 7:30. So as I'm walking in, I know that's what my morning is going to look like. The person that I was traveling with saw a couple of cute little hotties in the bar. It could not have been more clear. Option A, go left. Option B, have a plan, go right, go to the elevator, take a shower, go to bed, wake up, work out, go to my meeting, go home to my wife. Sure, I could go left and like maybe I'm not going to go hook up with them, but I'm just going to talk to them, you know. Then I'll have a couple of drinks too. But then they're like, oh, the bar's closing, last call, maybe we'll just go upstairs and we'll just hang out for a couple of times. We'll take a couple of drinks to go. Then we go upstairs to the room and we're hanging out. And like obviously the slippery slope of a bad decision all was the genesis, the catalyst was walking through the door without a plan. So that person cannot exist in my life. That person is not going to be in one of my companies. Because if you're faithful in the small things, you can be faithful in the big things. And if you're not going to be faithful to your wife, you're not going to be faithful with my money. If you're not going to be disciplined with what you're going to be doing with your time, you're not going to be disciplined with my time. And you can get fucked. You know, like get out of my life. I don't want it.
I
know that sounds harsh, but like
no, 100%. I think, you know, in a world in which discipline is not normal and in which people do not put those on high who do good things, but who do flashy things, I think finding other people who have that same moral compass is rare and beautiful. And so, and you know, especially for people who have options. One of the other things you've said, Jesus, you have said a lot. You're talking all the time. Yeah. Is that, you know, and it might not have just been you. You might have been quoting somebody else. Maybe it was Jordan Peterson about how he said that, you know, it's not, what does he say about the violent man? It's like, do you remember his line?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get the wave tops because it's a long quote, but ultimately the bottom line up front is a weak man is not a good man because he's not capable to do one or the other. A strong man that's capable of violence but chooses to be kind, chooses to be gentle, he's clearly morally a good man because he has the capable to do violence. That weak man is just, frankly, useless. He can't protect you. And if he can't protect you, then he definitely can't hurt you because he's weak and useless. On the other end of the spectrum is the man that is capable of great violence. And rather, he touches you gently. His hands are calloused. He has never set down the sword, but he has never used the sword against you, but rather only to defend you. And it's a beautiful concept, whether it's in business, in the military, you know, I've never had a harsh hand to my children, not once out of anger. You know, I woke up at 5:30 this morning to go to Gracie and Mai to Cedar Park to train with Giancarlo Bodoni, the 2-time ADCC world champion, who was teaching class at 6 a.m. to come home to make breakfast for my kids before they went to school. And that is the standard that I expect from everybody that I'm gonna spend time with.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What about when you were not this level of man yet? Because you are very open too about not having been that forever, like all of us. Can you attract great leaders and team members if you are not a great leader and team member?
Yeah. You can. There are, especially in the military, you know, it's hard because often, the worst get promoted. And
everybody felt that before? They're
yeah,
like, yeah, my boss.
It happens in business. It happens in the military. And really great leaders will go into a bad leadership problem because they run towards the sound of gunfire. They turn and they face the problem and they want to address it. And they see whether it's a culture problem, a leadership problem, a substance abuse problem in leadership, they put themselves in, and they're going to that bad leader, not for that leader, but rather for the benefit of the collective. And like, give me that guy.
Yeah, chosen hard.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I want to open this up to questions in a second, but this is a room full of either current owners or entrepreneurs or those who want to delve into it. And I'm sure all of them would love 60 seconds with Tim to say, like, what piece of advice would you give me? I know it's broad, but what would you give a group of aspiring on their way entrepreneurs and owners?
Yeah, I mean, growth is not linear, in business or more often as a person. If you read my book, Scars and Stripes, you'll see failure after failure after failure after failure after failure. I didn't fail at the same thing twice. So I'm either like extraordinarily versatile in all the ways that I can fail at something. That's not an attribute that you want to be good at. So I'm writing a book right now called The Purpose of Pain. And every moment of growth in my life has come from adversity. Every single opportunity for character development, the catalyst was a mistake. I put my hand on the stove and I burnt my hand. I learned not to put my hand on the stove. I was dating Kyria Gabriel Battaglia in college. She was like 4 or 5 years older than me. She was like a 10. I was young and like a 6.5. And, when she's hooking up with like 3 other dudes, she broke my heart. I learned a lesson, not at the 6, not to hook up with the 10 it's a good lesson. You go into a partnership with a guy that doesn't have the moral values, but has the acumen to look successful and to look the part, but you didn't take him to lunch. You didn't see how he treated the waiters. But you did know that he had a side thing with his wife. And then lo and behold, he embezzles you for, a few $100,000. Who here is surprised by that?
Yep.
Yeah. I was. If you want to know how dumb I am, there's another example. Like the list is long and distinguished of all the ways that I've messed up.
Oh, yeah.
But embrace the suffering, embrace the adversity, embrace the struggle, because that is the process. Like that title, The Purpose of Pain, is we're in an era where everyone's getting softer, everybody's getting weaker, everybody's getting poorer, everybody's getting, sicker. It doesn't have to be that way. You can just rather go the opposite direction of the masses and choose discipline, choose regiment, choose pain, choose struggling, choose adversity. And on the far side of that hard work is everything that you've ever wanted.
Agree. Yeah, well, the other thing too is if you guys ever are not motivated, Tim's Instagram is incredible because this psychopath does all these workouts nonstop, and you'll notice one thing about them, or I do. He's always like laughing or smiling while he's doing the world's worst workout of all time. And I noticed this because my husband's sort of the same way. He's like, he finds joy in pain, sort of. And so he's a great follow on Instagram. But I also love that about you is, you almost smile, you wickedly smile while you're suffering.
Yeah. That once more into the fray, it's the Scottish people lifting up their kilts and, whipping their ding-dongs around before they charge the English. That happened. Like, that is historical. This idea is we're outnumbered 3-1. They have heavy cavalry, but I'm gonna like whip my dick around to let you know like where my headspace is at. That is this idea of like, I'm looking at the scariest thing. I'm looking at adversity and struggle. But I've surrounded myself with extraordinary, wonderful people, and I'm going to go into it with joy. And happiness and joy is a choice. Everybody, all of us, I'm not going to go into all of your lives, all of us have struggles. And, if I don't believe this curated, editorialized crap that's on social media, if you could pull back a couple of layers and see some of the struggles that I have in my life right now, I still got to wake up at 5 whatever, kiss my beautiful wife on the cheek, go get a rad workout with a 2-time world champion that's way better than I am now in my mid-40s. And as he's in like the peak of his career and mopped the mats with my soul. And I was in joy and gratefulness the whole entire time. And that was a choice. I landed from a trip overseas in the wee hours of the morning last night. Flew over the Atlantic at whatever midnight and a red eye to come here and get a great workout and then come here and have a great conversation. Jet lagged as heck, but filled with joy and gratefulness. So it's a choice.
I love that. Okay, yeah. What a good human. Okay, I'm going to come to you for a question too. One thing I'll say also is if you guys haven't checked out, I know they're always filled, but he has these sheepdog response courses here, which I'm going to have a bunch of my female employees take too. But they're incredible for team building and leadership. And so learning how to defend one another, learning how to do hard things, it's another thing that I think is really cool that you did. Okay, and the only thing I'm gonna ask is we don't have a ton of time. Tim literally has to jet out of here, so we're gonna usher him out. He's not gonna have time to like sit and take pictures. It's our fault for programming scheduling, so just let him beeline out of here.
I have 17 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna go right here to a question.
Quick hit for you. Tim, I want to say thank you for your incredible service to our country. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go in fast mode here because I know there's probably tons of questions for you. Thank you again for your tips on your empathetic energy that you glean from your folks that are going to bring into your company. But what are your sneaky 1 to 2 questions that you ask folks where they reveal more of themselves?
Yeah, easy. Yeah, one is what does a typical day look like for you? Like I can tell you from 5:30 a.m. tonight or this morning until 8:30 p.m. tonight when my kids go to bed. I'm not going to go into what I plan on doing from 8:30 until 10:30 from when my wife goes to bed. But from literally 5:30 a.m. until 10:30 tonight, I know every minute of my day has been planned. And I'm not looking for, you can look at somebody's calendar and I know if that is a $5 million entrepreneur, if that is a $1 billion business owner, just by your calendar. And similarly, the role that I'm hiring you for, your approach to your time should be equivalent and appropriate for the role that you're about to go into. So that's one. What is your timeline like? And then 2 is I want to see failure. I despise, the question of what do you struggle with? You're like, man, I struggle with caring so much. Yeah, come on. I love the transparency, humility. That is a really good indicator when somebody truly gives you a fault. Like something that they're struggling with. Their child has diabetes, and and I'm in the business of protection and preparedness. And they sit there and honestly, like, power goes out. My insulin is going to last 6 months. My kid dies in 7, and I can see they're scared. Man, I want that person on my team.
So good. All right, Alex. Yeah.
Hey, Tim, how are you? I'm a business owner who helps other business owners, and I'm on a mission to help as many business owners as possible duplicate their efforts and get out of the day-to-day operations in just 90 days so they have more time to work on their business versus in their business. I'm curious to know, what is your best piece of advice to help business owners who have limiting beliefs that no one can run the business better than them?
A successful future business owner, non-entrepreneur, and there I get the phase of the grind. The business owns you, where later you own the business. For that transition to happen is you're going to have to be able to build, mentor, and then ultimately delegate responsibility and authority to the people that are going to be running that. And that is a selfless act. That is you having faith and a little bit of courage in the people that you are bringing into your organization to do it, and they're going to do it better than you. Your ego will get in the way every single time. I promise you, every single person in my office, Matt Smith, Yako Kalili, Zach Mayo, Carl Kringle, they are smarter than me. They are better at what they do than I could ever, what they do in the business is better than what I do. Matt Boudreau running Apogee, he's 1,000 times better than what I could do in that same role. And like having the confidence that person can do that thing, that business will own you forever until you make that transition to you owning the business and empowering other people to do it for you.
Beautiful.
You're working a lot in North Carolina. I know, or at least from my understanding, you specialize more in the triage side, but we have a bunch of people with trades businesses here. So can we partner with you, or is there an organization that you partner with that we can donate materials, time, people to help rebuild the community?
Yeah, this was a great question. I appreciate it. This was the first time that we've actually ever done a United States CONUS-based disaster response, and it was because it was in North Carolina. North Carolina is the home to special operations on the Army side. It's also the home to our headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it would have been really selfish for us not to pivot some of our resources to a disaster there. And we are
Say
definitely—
the name of the organization.
It's Save Our Allies. And if you email info@saveourallies.com, or you can just drop my email down. What is the one for Save Our Allies? I think it's tim@saveourallies.org. We have Caroline, who runs all partnerships, and we partner with probably 20, 30 different people in government, and then 50, 60 businesses that have legitimate contribution. There's a lot of people that, hey, we can help, so our name is on something, so we can say we're there to help. Like General Donahue, he's a 3-star general. He does not allow anybody to contribute. He will eliminate them from an organization in a heartbeat if they're not bringing significant resources to the table. We just don't have time to manage hundreds of small, I want to have my name on a billboard for an investment type partners. So on the construction side, we're rebuilding bridges and roads. We're fixing houses, building entire downtowns that have been decimated. So we would love help. SaveOurAllies.org is the organization, and that's the way to go.
Anna, I'm going to make sure you get one of Tim's books too. Beautiful question. Thank you for being a giver.
So given your experiences in the high stakes fields of military, MMA, business, do you have any principles or mindset shifts that you have found most valuable for thriving under pressure, and then how that can be effective in high-paced business environments?
Yep. There's a special operations truth that says you cannot prepare for a crisis after the crisis occurs. The soft truths are the cornerstone to the book that I'm writing, The Purpose of Pain right now. Another one that applies to that is that people are more important than hardware. Those two soft truths, the first one, you cannot prepare for a crisis after a crisis occurs, and that people are more important than hardware. I can have the nicest computer on the desk of all these employees, and I can have the best chair, a standing desk, and whatever the current 2024 work optimization environments are. But if the person's not the right person, and if I'm not recognizing that me mentoring and building the next leader is the most important thing that I can do, I'm just wasting my money and pouring stuff uselessly into equipment and stuff, because people are the most important commodity. And you have to prepare. When I said before I go into a meeting, preparation occurs and rehearsals occur. I don't just have a white paper about who I'm about to talk to, which includes their bio, what their ask is going to be, what we want to do in that partnership. I then rehearse. I will sit down with Carl and we'll go over even role playing and wargaming, what that conversation is going to be like, how a couple of different options as the conversation unfolds, and then I'm pleasantly surprised when somebody brings in something that I didn't prepare for. I'm like, yeah, sick.
Okay, last question here, just briefly, please, my dear.
I speak quickly. My question was, you were talking about the switch in military attitude of new leadership. How can we get that not only in our businesses, but also into our society and especially into our governments? I'm from London. We have the NHS. It's a nightmare of middle managers who are afraid to do anything and be held accountable for anything ever going wrong, even if it would be the reasonable choice. What's your hot take on what we could do to enact that change?
Individual responsibility in the preamble of the Constitution. Please, if you don't have the Constitution and you haven't read it in a while, please pick it up and read it. The entire idea of we the people was only possible because the people were a capable, individually responsible group of people. And they carved their existence out of the wilderness. They fought Indians and bears. Then they had a tyrannical government that said they were going to impose a 5% tax on a single commodity, and they threw tea into a harbor, and then one shot heard around the world, they killed every single one of those people that represented that government and then kicked them off the continent. And that was only possible because the people were strong, the people were disciplined, the people were educated. And like in the military, we are able to do mission command as our new command approach, because we are going to have faith and confidence that down to the small unit level, they are training the soldiers in their key medal task. So every unit has a medal, mission essential task list. A cook is going to have a way different medal task than an infantryman. An infantryman is going to be able to shoot, move, communicate, medicate. A cook is going to be able to purify water, remove bacteria from food, and be able to provide nutrients to the fighting force. Very different medal tasks. But I, as a leader, am going to have high confidence that once I give my intent, that they're going to be being able to execute that, because I have trained them and I have mentored them and I've prepared them to be able to assume the authority, the responsibility, and then I'll authorize them to go and take that, and be able to make those decisions without me being there. And there'll be a learning curve. They're going to make mistakes, just like you would. It's not like if you were in that role, you're going to bat 1,000. You're going to make mistakes just like they will. And you will use those as opportunities for both of you to grow, one, you as a leader, and then them as an individual to be able to contribute in a more meaningful way as time goes on.
Beautiful. All right, Tim Kennedy, everybody. Thank you, Tim.